All right, so obviously I'm not a saddle fitter. So I'm not really going to give specific saddle fitting advice. I'm just sharing my experiences because I think I'm on to my 6th saddle for Arthur now, and I've had him, like I say, probably coming on 4 years now. So I think I've had a saddle a year on average, which is a nightmare. But obviously we all know how important saddle fit is, right? So without a well-fitting saddle, a horse is never gonna work over the back. And then this can obviously lead to problems, right? Okay, I'm refilming that because I rambled on way too much. I kept the intro on though because I found it so weird seeing that thing like that just appeared in front of my face. I'm saying that it might be an orb because I don't think it was dust. But it hasn't happened to me before, and I've done quite a lot of videos. So I just thought it was quite cool. Hopefully somebody's watching out for me. I've had a pretty crap last week or so with my struggles, as I've mentioned, but anyway. So obviously I'm not a saddle fitter, so I'm not giving saddle fitting advice. But I just wanted to share my experiences with different saddles because obviously I've had quite a few saddles for Arthur and I've had quite a few learning curves. So I just wanted to give some hints and tips, I guess, so that you guys can actually work with your saddle fitters with a little bit of knowledge as opposed to just putting your full trust in people, I guess. So I thought I would start off by showing you guys my saddles that I've had in the past and why I had to change and what was wrong with them. I've literally just finished cleaning the cottage, but I have a hot tub as well, and I'm just waiting for it to get to the top, and I hate multitasking when I'm filling the hot tub, because 8 times out of 10 I'll let it overflow. So I'm literally just doing this while I'm waiting. So the first one, I did actually use a fitter who was well known, well respected, wasn't registered with the Society of Master Saddlers, but he came recommended, so I decided to use him. So this saddle, to be honest, it looked okay when it was on Arthur's back, and it's probably one of the only saddles that I've seen that doesn't actually have a channel which narrows towards the back, but it was a really old saddle. Now there is some research going around that tree points are quite an important aspect of the saddle. So you can have some tree points that point towards the shoulder, some that point downwards, or some that curve away from the shoulder. Maybe it was just something to do with that, with this saddle, but it was quite bad. So it used to bounce around quite a lot. And whenever I was jumping, it used to tip up really badly. It's probably the worst I've ever seen one of my saddles tip up at the back. So this had a real negative effect on my riding position, because I was essentially balancing on top of a saddle and then balancing on top of a horse. So I did fall off quite a lot in this saddle, and I used to actually get frustrated with just how crap my balance was, but obviously the saddle didn't fit. So I contacted a registered fitter with the Society of Master Saddlers this time. Also came highly recommended, and fitted Arthur to my second saddle. I think it was a GFS, I'm not sure. But this one, in my opinion, the tree shape must have fitted Arthur quite well, because it stayed still. It was very stable on Arthur's back. It seemed to fit. And it didn't tip up at the back when I went jumping, and Arthur did actually really improve in this saddle. And I rode in this one for a year and a half. But I did have performance issues, so things like dressage was just non-existent with Arthur. It was a nightmare. But then I did start to learn a little bit more about, well, actually I got a bit fit consultant out. And then she just made the comment that it was too narrow for him in front. Bearing in mind I had had it checked a couple of weeks before this appointment. And I decided to listen to her. So I asked to get the fitter out again. But then I started to learn a bit more about saddle fit. So I started to follow Schleese Saddlery, Saddle Fit for Life. And I watched the 7 steps to saddle fit that they've posted on YouTube, which is, it's this. And I highly recommend that people use that as a basic knowledge base, I guess, to just help decide whether you guys, you need your due for your saddler. But it came to my attention that the channel was way too narrow for Arthur's spine. I did get another fitter out, and she confirmed it. But if you actually look, it's sitting on Arthur's back, so you can imagine if you put my weight on him as well, how much pressure was sitting probably on like the bony aspects of his spine. It's quite sad, really. So yep, this one I got rid of as well. I did actually get a refund on this saddle, and then I got a saddle company one. So the lovely woman tried Arthur in this saddle, and I think with these things, when you remove pressure from a certain area on a horse, they are going to improve. So it's quite a difficult thing for an owner, because you might notice improvements for a week or so, but then you might start to notice a decline again, which is kind of the pattern that happened with Arthur, I guess. So anyway, fitted it slightly too narrow, and somebody pointed this out to me. So the balance, as you can see, is going towards the back of the saddle as opposed to being central. So anyway, this did get widened slightly, and then it showed the problem. So the tree wasn't actually the correct shape for Arthur's back, so it almost, you can see it bananas. So all the pressure will be in the middle. So this was another one that I had to say goodbye to. And then I ended up getting Kenton Masters flatback saddle. So this was another registered fitter with a Society of Master Saddlers. And this one, the fit, the static fit looked really good. So you can see on the picture, the panels look, the actual tree shape looks right. There was plenty of room on the side and on the top. So as a static fit, it looked quite good. The channel was a half decent size. It looked good, but she lifted the panels up and they did actually bridge. Now I questioned this, and it was mentioned that Arthur will fill it out, which is actually not correct. You should be able to feel even pressure all the way along the panels. I'm pretty sure I'm going to go and do some research to try and back this up. I'll write in the text about whether I'm wrong or whether I'm right, but I'm pretty confident that there's not a significant amount of mobility in a horse's spine. And when a horse engages itself and uses itself, there's not actually a lot of movement in their back. So the saddle fit shouldn't change too much. That's my thought process on it. And I'm pretty sure I've read that, but if I find that, I'll post it up. If I can't and I'm wrong, I'll correct myself. But anyway, I should have stuck to my gut, and I should have said, I'm not too keen on that. Can we try something else? But I didn't. So anyway, that saddle was a nightmare. It would always get pushed back. It's probably one of the most unstable saddles I've ever had. It wobbled about really badly. It tipped up at the back. The fitter did mention to me that it was my riding that was causing it to do these things, but to tip up at the back when I'm jumping and things like that. But I'm not perfect, but I'm not one of these people that throws myself forward. I think I've just kind of learnt from my husband, and it didn't happen in my third saddle, and it doesn't happen in my current jump saddle. So it's obviously not me, because I've not changed that much. If anything, I'm really out of practice because I've not done that much. But anyway, I really struggled trying to get this one to fit. So eventually I just gave up, and I did end up having a refund for this one as well. So I have been quite lucky in that I have wasted a lot of money on saddles, but I have managed to get refunds on some of them. Otherwise it would have been extremely expensive. And then I was just getting really frustrated, I guess. Basically you just end up running out of options, which is how I felt. So I spoke to Arthur's previous owner, and she just told me, just get a Prestige, get the one that he was in, because they have a really good fitter, and they really trust their fitter. They're registered with the Society of Master Saddlers. So I thought, he can't have changed that much, but I'll obviously get a fitter out to bring one along and see how it fits. So that's what I did. And yeah, it still fit him, but he just needed a much wider saddle than what he had in his previous home. So anyway, I had more troubles because for some reason I just couldn't place an order, and maybe I'm an impatient person, but I did get sick of waiting. So I just decided to go it alone, and ordered one. But it's my advice, never buy a saddle, especially an expensive saddle, on your own. Do it through a fitter, because I made some mistakes with mine. So this saddle Arthur has probably gone the best in. So it fits his shape really well, as far as I'm aware. It didn't tip up at the back. We've done a lot in this saddle, but when I got it, I did get another fitter out to check it for me, and they said that it was fine, but it wasn't. So the channel actually did need widening, and it did need some flocking adjustments in the back. So Prestige build their wider saddles in the type that I've got, with half flocking instead of full flocking. And I think this is because it helps a fitter adjust the saddle to the horse better. But I didn't appreciate until my husband sat on Arthur for me to take some photographs, that how much they sunk into Arthur's back, the panels at the back, because they just weren't firm enough. So I sent quite a lot of photographs down to the company who widened it for me, and they flock adjusted it, and it's brilliant now, as far as I can see. So it just needed that little bit of help, but obviously that's not helped Arthur's kiss and spine scenario. And then the fitter that I use now, I decided, because I'd had so much success with my jump saddle, I wanted a dressage saddle, because I was actually going to start affiliating Arthur after being placed, getting second place at Northallerton in April. So I was actually going to start affiliating, so I ordered a dressage saddle. And this one, as far as I'm aware, fits well, but you'll see that the channel is actually, it was custom made, so the channel is actually really wide. Now, it's not too wide. You can't have it too wide, because then you just want them to sit on the beginning and the end of the longissimus dorsi muscle, but you don't want it to sit over, obviously, the spine and the ligaments and things like that. So I would recommend watching the Schleese 9 Steps to Saddle Fit, and I would definitely follow their Facebook channel, Saddle Fit for Life, because they always provide so much scientific based evidence for saddle fitting. The only thing that I would not take too seriously, even though I believe it's correct, I believe in it. There is a lot of controversy surrounding the importance of shoulder angle. So I wouldn't get hung up on shoulder angle, because as far as I can see, shoulder angle doesn't massively get taken into account with saddle fitting in the UK. But my saddles seem to fit really well, and Arthur's got the worst angle, got the worst shoulders. So I don't know, but I've never had a Schleese saddle, so I can't really compare. But because it's got so much, because it's quite controversial, I would take it with a pinch of salt rather than obsessing over it. Now, I've got a list of things that just tips to give to you guys. So just don't automatically put your trust into saddle fitters. Be interested and ask questions if you feel like you need to. Question their choices as well, especially if you're buying a new saddle. Just question why they've chosen a certain saddle for your horse, and learn about it. Definitely watch the 9 Steps to Saddle Fitting by Schleese, because that really opened up my eyes, and I'm surprised that a saddle fitter is given so much information, to be honest. I think they're just really keen on trying to help horses. Make sure that the channel is the same width all the way through. Obviously it will be wider at the withers, but it shouldn't peter off to nothing at the end. And if you are buying a new saddle, just make sure that the saddle fitter is taking that into account, because in my experience a lot of saddle fitters don't. I'm also saying this tentatively, but it's my personal choice to generally try and choose a saddle fitter who's registered with the Society of Master Saddlers. It's just these people, you can guarantee that they've been through a certain amount of training, and to keep their status or their registration, they've got to do some training every year. But I've had quite a few I consider bad registered fitters for my specific horse. So just go on your gut, I guess, and just do your research beforehand. It's just, I think, because I have managed to get refunds for some of my saddles, and I think it's been mainly down to the kind of protection that you get with the Society of Master Saddlers. So there are certain conditions that fitters have to abide by, whereas if you use an unregistered fitter, you're relying solely on their kindness, I guess. Make sure that a fitter wants to fit statically as well and dynamically. So dynamically for me is a really important thing. Like my 4th saddle is proof that a saddle might actually fit statically quite well, but it all falls to pieces when you start to ride. So definitely make sure that a fitter wants to see you ride, and especially if it's a new saddle that you're buying. Obviously, if you're planning to jump in this saddle, make sure that you jump in it when the fitter is there. You want to make sure that you're happy in that saddle and your horse is happy in that saddle. I would always try and get somebody to ride for you as well, so you can sit back and you can talk to the fitter and see the saddle from your fitter's perspective, and then you can ask questions so the saddle might be bobbing up and down and you can ask questions with that. Or so make sure that your horse is standing square, because I've experienced a few saddle fitters that actually don't make sure that the horse is standing square, and this can really affect the back profiles that saddle fitters take. So definitely make sure that your horse is standing square. Also check fitters out on Facebook or Google. Try and look for their company if they do have one, because it's my opinion that generally good fitters will allow people to review them, either good or bad, because they're generally not trying to hide anything. You can also look at the dust pattern on your saddle pads. So obviously if you're using to check a fit, so if you're using a new saddle pad that doesn't obviously have any crap underneath it, you can put it on, ride, and then take it back off again and have a look. And I've taken this insert from Schleese Saddlery to show what a good dust pattern on a saddle pad looks like. So you're wanting to have almost no movement on the top at the withers, because that's the most stable part of the saddle. And then the back will, because obviously a horse flexes, a horse bends, a saddle doesn't. So you will see a little bit of movement in the back. So obviously if you've got dry spots, or you've got no movement in the back, then that says that there's too much pressure in the back of your saddle. But this is a good reference, and this is an example of one of mine. I also just want to point out half pads, because there is a lot of people who seem to use the merino wool style half pads, and Arthur reacted really badly to them for some reason. So I'll show some. I will show a bit of footage, but I used it to try and stabilise that fourth saddle that I had that was a bit too flat in the tree for Arthur's shape. And I put it on, and he was trying to do little rears, and he was just, I'm not going forward. So I took it off and he was much better. So obviously Arthur's got a back problem, so it was obviously exacerbating the back problem. So just be mindful with that you are actually, as far as I'm aware, you are actually narrowing the channel when you start putting these thick saddle pads underneath. And also be involved in your horse's saddle fitting. Sometimes I feel quite bad if I'm taking a particular interest, but I just think it's so important, because at the end of the day, it's our money, it's our horse, and we're the one riding them, so we want to make sure that things are as good as they can be. And obviously you want to try and get it right first time, because saddles are an expensive investment. I really do hope this has been useful to some people, fingers crossed. As I said, I'm not a saddle fitter, so I'm not qualified to, and I don't really want to give specific saddle fitting advice, but I'm more than happy to give advice to help improve the experience with saddle fit, because I think certain little things are really important. Also remember that I think in some circumstances it's quite a difficult job for a saddle fitter, because I do think that quite a lot of horses suffer from subtle lameness issues. But sometimes a saddle might slip And I think saddle fitters do get a lot of the blame for this sometimes, when actually chances are it's either your horse suffering from subtle lameness or it's you being crooked. So Arthur did actually used to shift his saddle to the left hand side. So I actually blamed my husband for being crooked. But he really did. It would slip to the left and I would be telling my husband to move to the right. But after Arthur had his first back medication, it stopped slipping. So obviously Arthur's back pain must have improved significantly enough to stop the saddle slipping. So nothing had happened to the saddle other than we addressed some of Arthur's pain. So bear that in mind, that if you're struggling with saddle slip, always check the lameness or yourself first before automatically blaming a saddle fit, because I have heard that that's quite a big thing. One of the main complaints. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble on again. I've just tried to make it a bit more concise so people don't get bored. I have got a video of my dressage saddle, so I've just like gone around and I'll just do a brief explanation of why my saddle fits, I guess, and then and that's it. But it's very basic because, as I said, I'm not a saddle fitter. So this is the front of my saddle, so there is room both on the side and on the top. I do have small fingers. And then the first girth strap is pretty much vertical to the girthing area. I do use a girth to deal with Arthur's forward girth groove. So my channel is wide enough for his back all the way through. This is an Evolution Horse saddle pad. And then the balance of my saddle is in the middle, balance of the seat. And it's also important to make sure that your saddle doesn't actually go past the last rib. Hopefully that's been helpful. Thanks. Oh, by the way, thank you for putting up with me. I don't know if anybody else resonates, but to have a mental illness and to do something like this is quite a nerve-wracking thing. I think a lot of people hide it, whereas I'm not really big on hiding it anymore. I hid this for a long time, whereas now I'm just not so bothered because a lot of people struggle with this kind of stuff. So thanks for being supportive, and thank you so much for being understanding. Thanks.